Hello again, and welcome back to Legally Cited. This is Jesse, and I am back for another channel update and kind of a random topic video. So, before we get into the different topics for today, I just want to kind of give people a general channel update and everything. Thank you to everyone who has been subscribing to the channel. If you are new to the channel, if you just subscribed, 10 minutes ago or 10 years ago, thank you. It is much appreciated. Hopefully you find something of interest here. I do unlock videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Sometimes I will unlock videos, for holidays, or if there's some cool technology news or announcements or events or some cool accessibility thing happening. It may be a bonus video here and there. But Monday, Wednesday, Saturdays are typically the days that I release videos. Everything is divided into playlists, so you should hopefully be able to find something of interest to you. Low vision spotlight videos, for instance, are games that I play with my remaining usable vision. Accessible game spotlights, if you're looking for games that a totally blind player can play, check out the various accessible game spotlight videos, PC, console, iOS, etc. And then, I just cover a lot of other things: assistive technology, augmented reality, virtual reality. AI has kind of been a new thing. There's been some really cool things happening in the world of AI and how it can be used as an assistive technology tool. There's some great apps and devices out there, and it seems like there is going to be more coming in the near future. So, yeah, I mean, we just had Google talking about their AI glasses plans, that Meta is going to come out with a new pair of glasses. They're already working on that. We've got a couple blindness specific glasses that are coming around the corner at some point in the next year or two. Apple, of course, who knows what's going on with their. I don't know. I mean, yeah, they might make a wearable, but I don't know. Um, if they're going to tie that to AI in some form, they're going to have to do a little bit of work because, their Apple Intelligence thing has not gone so well over the last year or so. So we'll see what happens with all of that stuff. But it is an interesting time. And I can definitely see AI being an interesting tool. But yeah, so check out the playlists. And again, hopefully you'll find something of interest to you there. I've probably gotten a fair few subscribers recently, what with some recent interviews and presentations that I have done recently. I haven't really been covering too many blind accessible games lately, unfortunately, simply because, well, there haven't been very many lately. I mean, we've got a couple iOS games here and there that I've been trickling out every now and again. Of course, we had The Last of Us 2 remaster. That was in, what was it, March, I think. But we've had games that have had accessibility features in them, but nothing really for blind players this year, unfortunately. And I don't know, I don't know what is going to be coming out, as far as AAA especially. We haven't really heard anything about any AAA games. We may have an indie game coming out here and there that may have some blind accessibility features. I know that Brock the Investigator, he's doing that. What is it? The Brawl Bar, I believe it is. Kind of an expansion to the original game, but more of a beat 'em up kind of a thing. Not so much geared toward the point and click adventure side of things. So that'll be something to look forward to. But yeah, unfortunately 2025, like it's been a great year for just amazing games, AAA and indie games. I mean, Xbox is killing it, what with all kinds of things on Game Pass recently. But as far as accessible games for blind players, yeah, 2023 was a banger year. 2024 had a couple things here and there, but yeah, 2025 is seeming to be kind of a dry spell again. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with Nintendo next month, what limitations their Switch 2 has for text to speech. We do have confirmation that menu narration is going to be in the Switch 2, but even in that little audio demo clip that I played for you guys in that video a little while back, even in that clip, the narration was saying that that menu narration isn't going to be available everywhere, at least to start. So as I said before, it almost seems like it's going to be more of a PlayStation 4 kind of a thing where, yeah, the main menus are, but when you go into the submenus and deep level menus and settings and stuff, who knows how much of that is going to speak. I really, really, really hope the eShop would be narrated. I have my doubts because I don't know if they're just going to do like a system level thing. I mean, I would argue that the eShop should be accessible because it's not like Nintendo doesn't have control over it. I mean, they're the ones that make the eShop, so if they can make the dashboard, they can make the eShop, they can make both accessible because they have full control over both. So we will see. I theoretically still do have my Best Buy pre-order for the Switch 2. I have never gotten an email about it, but when I go check like the Best Buy app and the order thing, it still says it's pre-ordered. So theoretically, I don't know, around the 5th, I should be getting a Switch 2 because I do want to check out its accessibility. And I have to admit, I am pretty curious about Mario Kart because it's been a series that I've liked kind of from the beginning. Like, I like the Super Nintendo version, but the main thing that annoyed me about that one was even when you were playing solo, you always had to play in split screen because you had the map on one half and then you had the actual race on the other half. Like, I'm greedy, man. I want my full screen. Um, but yeah, Mario Kart, Donkey Kong in July, that looks really fun. I like the focus of the exploration and digging and destruction in that, so that looks really good. We don't have a release date for Metroid Prime 4 yet, and we don't know what else is coming. Of course, there's going to be all those updates and different things for Switch 1 games, which, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'm not really that excited because, honestly, neither of the Switch Zelda games, like, I love them in theory. It's a great idea, but those are games that I think really could have, if they had menu narration, if they had some sort of like more of a navigation assist thing, that would be more fun to me. And interestingly, the Tears of the Kingdom, the remaster, I'm kind of curious to see like what other people say about it because you're supposed to use a phone companion app. Like, why in the hell they wouldn't just put this in the game is beyond my comprehension. But they had a little clip of like you're using the phone companion app, some phone app, and it almost like it's giving you GPS type directions in the world. I don't know how detailed that's going to be, but the thing is, if you're doing that with a phone app, there's obviously going to be a lot of latency there. And so if you were using that as, not just more of a vague guide, if you were, let's say, visually impaired or blind and you were trying to use that for actual navigation and traversal, just I have to imagine there's going to be quite a significant lag trying to go from, the system to Wi-Fi to your phone and going back and forth. I mean, maybe not, but it just seems like a really, really clunky way to go about doing that. Like, why would you just not put that into the game natively? just have it as a feature you could turn on and off in settings. I don't know. It's just bizarro. I don't even know what else to say about that. So I am vaguely curious, but I don't have high hopes really. And I mean, especially if they kind of improve the performance of it, I really need to play the what was it, the Link's Awakening remaster remake that they did. I remember that came out, I want to say either right before or sometime when Riley was up here, and I played it a tiny bit, but I never got very far. I kind of tend to like the more traditional Zeldas. Go find a dungeon, um, go do your thing. Oh, that's right. I will be able to play Wind Waker on the Switch too. Oh, Wind Waker. Yeah, I would just wish it was the HD version, dag nabbit. But yeah, I Wind Waker, that'll be cool. I really hope that they, all this virtual console stuff. It's been a while since I've looked at the N64 games, but like, if they're gonna bother to put those out, like, yes, I know they want you to get the controllers, the N64, the GameCube controllers, but really, why, they just remap the controls so that they work on a regular Joy-Con, because I remember trying I think it was the GoldenEye game. I remember trying that, and it was the layout of it was just stupid. Like, if you're gonna port those and just let people with the Switch Online membership play them, for God's sake, like, I don't care if you don't remaster or up the graphics or whatever, but make the controls playable by the native controller, in handheld mode. Because what if you have a Switch Lite and you want to play it like, Nintendo is Nintendo. Nintendo's just gonna Nintendo. That's the way they are, I guess. So yeah, I mean, I am curious about what's gonna happen with the Switch 2. I'm very curious about the accessibility. I'm curious about Mario Kart. And, I'm sure they're going to have some sort of a Nintendo Direct, probably around, beginning to mid next month, because that's when all of the summer games stuff is happening again this year. So before we get into any of that, just a couple life updates. Well, kind of ties into all this summer of gaming and WWDC and all of these things that are going to be happening in early June. Well, I don't know how much of these things I'm going to be able to pay attention to live, whether I cover them live or do a video about them later, or however that's going to work, because earlier this month, joy of all joys, I got a piece of mail in my mailbox. I got summoned for jury duty at the beginning of June. Yay! So, yeah, next week I have to start being available. And if I get called into the court, and I may have to come in and see if I get chosen to be on some sort of a jury for the first week or two of June. So that's going to really screw things up, both for, my day job. Things are really becoming pretty busy with there, just working with students now that they're out of school, getting equipment ready and set up for people. This is where we start doing a lot of these summer activities with students. So it's, again, June is sort of a busy month. And then all of these tech and gaming events, yeah, the jury duty is going to put a whole kink in everything there. So I'm secretly hoping that, like, maybe if they call me in, maybe they'll just like, oh, you're not selected, or you're excused, or, that I don't have to necessarily go on to actually be on. Because what they do is, I guess, for about a week, you have to check the phone or a website twice a day. And if your group number is called, you have to go into the courthouse. And then that doesn't mean you're on a jury. That means that you kind of go into this waiting room, and that way you're on call on site. And then if the court happens to have a case that needs a jury, they have whatever groups are there available in that waiting room. So you just kind of hang out there and do whatever until you are either called or dismissed for the day. If you are dismissed for that day, then you still have to check in for the next at least week, the first week, twice a day to see if you'll be called in for another waiting room session. And then, when you're in the waiting room, there's a chance that you could be called in to be part of a jury. So I've never done this before. I know several coworkers who have. And, part of me thinks that it would be sort of interesting, but I don't know, these days I just really have pretty much zero interest in going through all those shenanigans right now. I want to keep life simple. I want to go to work. I want to get paid. I want to do the best I can with whatever I do. But I just want to go to work, do my job well, get paid, go home and do my thing. I just don't even really care anymore. Especially with all the, just courts and government shenanigans going on right now. The federal government makes me sick these days. We got, I've heard all kinds of names for our stupid president. The guy's nuts. The guy's insane, senile, whatever. And so petty. And he's just a little toddler. Nothing about helping the people through the natural disasters that we had couple weeks ago. Nothing about actually helping people who are in war. Everything is about him and his cronies, and if anyone who disagrees with him, he's like a whiny 2-year-old who kicks and screams and says, "No, they're mean to me," and literally calling out, just saying, "Oh, the press is fake news and you're unqualified." I mean, the way he talks to people, it's one thing if you think those things in your head and that's what you actually think, okay. But you're the president of the frickin' United States. You're the president. And you act like a frickin' spoiled toddler. You make everything about you. You could care less about helping anybody. If you are disabled, I highly suggest that you look for a job at some point and try to, because if they're going to screw with Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, and who knows whatever else is going to happen with that, even if, you need the medical assistance, who knows how much that's going to be around, or if it will, the drug prices might get jacked up by God knows how much. So you might wanna, I don't know. And I know a few people who have a disability that actually voted for that dingnut, and I'm like, well, I hate to say it, but boy, it'll be really interesting. And well, you're gonna get what you voted for, and you're gonna, don't come bitching to us when, if you live off the government, whether it's Medicaid or whether it's Social Security, don't come bitching to me, because you voted against your interests on this one. So I mean, it sucks for everybody else, but no, whatever. That's what the people voted for. That's what they're going to get. They're going to get screwed over. And without going on a complete rant, that's really all I can say about politics. I didn't even really want to mention that, but I was babbling about work and this. Our state government, they're still trying to pass their bills, and they're going to be in some special session, so that hopefully our state government doesn't shut down on July 1st. So just nobody can get along. Nobody can compromise or work together. Everyone's like, I'm far this way, I'm far that way, and they can't get along, they can't agree, they can't compromise. Um, Yet they're getting all the benefits. They get their salaries. If they go into a special session, they don't get their work done, they still get paid. They still get their congressional benefits, and they're just screwing with the rest of us. So yeah, I don't have a lot of love for our government right now, state or federal. And of course, beginning in June here, we have to go back to the office officially 50% or more of time. I'm glad it's not 100%. I'm very thankful for that. But at the same time, I love how every whether it's federal or a state agency, oh, we're in a budget crunch. We need to save money. We need to blah, blah, blah. We can't keep spending so much money. So our solution to that is, of course, let's recall everybody back into the office after the past 5 years where we've downsized our workspaces. We've closed some of our offices, we've downsized or outsourced some of our offices, and we don't have the space for everybody anymore. And now we're going to spend a whole shitload of money basically trying to either get office space back so that people can come in, or retrofit spaces to accommodate people coming back, because they want to make sure, they say that, well, people can't get work done alone. They have to go into the office to collaborate, and we want to revive downtown St. Paul. Well, guess what? The vast majority of state employees don't live or work in downtown St. Paul. Yes, a lot of people do. I don't. I live in St. Paul, but I don't live in downtown. I don't work in downtown, nor does a lot of the state. But now you're going to spend all this money trying to get people back in to the office, retrofitting or adding spaces back into your offices, and it just doesn't make, again, it's government. It doesn't make sense to me. But that's what it is. Common sense did not prevail. I mean, people, I wrote in a few different places when people were wanting feedback about it. But the governor is just not having it. No, we got to do this. We got to do it. They didn't consult with any of the workers and the funny thing is like, I am super productive. I talk to a lot of my coworkers. We are all super productive, working remotely, teleworking. And, if we need to meet in person, we meet in person. I meet clients in person. I have some staff meetings in person. We did an all-day team meeting, event about 2 weeks ago in the office. So, we don't have to be mandated. We don't have to be told to go into the office to get our work done. If the work that we need to do means that we need to go into the office or go out into the field somewhere, that's what we do. We're not getting complaints from customers, from clients. I mean, we've been complimented by how efficient our services have been the last few years. So, whatever. It is what it is. Again, I'm thankful that it's not 100% of the time right now, and I pray to God that other people don't ruin it for the rest of us, and 6 months from now or a year from now they make us go in 100% of the time again, because that would suck hard. But yeah, that's another change. So yeah, June is just, it's not a good month. Bunch of bullshit that I got to deal with this year. It's like, oh, my birthday, yippee, whoopie dee doo. I do want to see all the gaming news and events happening. I'm curious what WWDC is going to bring, but just all this other crap that I got to deal with. But that's kind of what's going on as far as my life and how that will affect the channel in the next few weeks. It's going to be pretty busy. So I've got a lot of videos queued up. I've got some cool games that I've recorded videos for. I've got several more that I want to record videos for. We have, of course, several games coming out in, I don't remember how many in June. I know there's got to be a couple in June that I'm looking forward to, but July, there's a whole bunch of things. I know there's the RoboCop expansion, there's the Donkey Kong game, there's Tony Hawk 3 and 4 remastered, which I'm really looking forward to. Tony Hawk 3 was amazingly fun. A lot of great memories in college playing that game. So it'll be really fun to relive those Tony Hawk 3 levels again. I think there's even more. Like there's at least one or two more that I can't remember that are coming out in July. And then again, just the surprises, the indie games that just pop out of nowhere. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot coming out still. I mean, as far as recent releases go, of course, we've had Doom: The Dark Ages. I've been pretty obsessed with that the last few weeks. Thank you again to Bethesda for, I'm so um, pleased that I was able to cover the game's accessibility right at launch, because they provided me a review code. And, there's a few things here and there that are a little bit difficult as low vision, like seeing some of the map stuff and finding some of the secrets and things is a little bit harder. But I love Doom: The Dark Ages. I've beaten it. I started it again on a higher difficulty setting. And I've kind of found out, like, I'm kind of bad at higher difficulty settings, but I've kind of tuned it to my own difficulty, because as I said in my video, what I covered the game, you don't just have like your hurt me plenty, ultra violent, you don't have just the difficulty settings. You can choose that, but then you can go in and there's a whole bunch of sliders for like how much damage you take, how much damage you deal, enemy speed, parry window, enemy projectile speed. So I actually cranked the difficulty down overall, but then I went and I turned all the speed options. So like the game speed, the projectile speed, the parry, I made all of those super fast. So it still has this challenge because even compared to what I was playing before, I've heard some people complain that Doom: The Dark Ages is slow, especially compared to Eternal. And in some ways, yeah, some of the movement and traversal speed is slower. But when you get those projectiles flying, you crank up the game speed, you combine that with your shield charge, where you're just bashing into dudes, and your parries and your finishers, or your, again, just sort of dashing around the screen. It is pure mayhem. I mean, it is just super fast still, and it is amazingly fun. It is amazingly fun. So I'm still having a hell of a lot of fun with Doom: The Dark Ages. And I know, just like Doom Eternal, they are going to be adding some some expansions or DLC story content, probably either later this year or early next year. So yeah, I'm all for more Doom: The Dark Ages, because it runs beautifully. It is super fun to play. Goddamn, man, I love the shield saw. The shield saw is like, I love how it adds more melee options, the parrying, the bashing, the just zipping up, like, oh, I can bash my way up onto a higher ledge and smack a Mancubus in the face, boomeranging the shield. Like, it's just there's so many unique mechanics in addition to all the weapons. I mean, the flail is just so much fun. The super shotgun, mwah, oh god, that's so much fun. It's so good. I forget what it's called, but like basically the skull shard gun, um, shooting like ground up bones at people, at demons. It is just so heavy metal, and I love it. So yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with Doom: The Dark Ages. I did release that Doom, the Toby Doom Funny Pack video, so you can check that out if you want a little bit of more of a zany audio accessible Doom, so that you guys, so that people who can't unfortunately play Doom: The Dark Ages still have more accessible content to play around with. There's a video for that, and the link to the actual mod and everything in the description of that video. So there's that. But I've been playing. There's been a couple of retro shooters, boomer shooters that have been coming out. A couple that remind me a lot of like Heretic or Hexen type of things. We got Arcos 2 and Wizardom, and in what is it? 2 days from now, I believe. Project Warlock 2 is coming out of early access, and I played a lot of the first episode of that game. I played a tiny bit of the second episode, and I don't remember if there's going to be 3 or 4 episodes in there, but Project Warlock 2, man, if you like a really good, crunchy, retro first-person shooter, I love both Project Warlock 1 and 2, so I will absolutely be covering the full version of Project Warlock 2 at some point. I've been playing the Elder Scrolls Oblivion remaster. I did a video for that. That came out recently, and I'm still having quite a bit of fun with that. The clairvoyance spell to help you guide your way to your objective visually is very helpful. There is still a bit of jank, but it's still fun to wander around the world and close Oblivion gates and go on side quests and all kinds of stuff like that. So yeah, I mean there's that. That TMNT Tactical Takedown, that turn-based, almost like a turn-based tactical board game type of thing. I did a demo time video for it fairly recently. That game is fully out now, so at some point I want to at least try to take a look at that and see if I can learn not to suck at it, and I'd like to play that some more, so I might cover a full video on that. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things that I've already recorded or that are on my queue to play. There's been a few things on sale recently, so there's no shortage of content. I mean, unfortunately, not all of it is going to be accessible to blind players. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is right now. Again, I hope that changes. I hope that we do get some. I know we do have that accessibility showcase coming up as well. Was it Laura Kate Dale, I believe, is the one that does that showcase right around the Summer of Gaming events. So hopefully we'll get a couple things announced there. Again, they cover more than just blind accessibility, and you have to remember that when they cover an accessibility event, or they have an accessibility event, it's not just blind accessibility. We wish that all of the games would be blind accessible, but I guarantee you there are going to be some games that will be shown that have accessibility features but may not in fact be blind playable. So looking forward to seeing what's going to come from that. There is some interesting things happening with accessibility and gaming. I can officially say now, because I believe they updated their website fairly recently, I was asked to join to be a part of ACB's new audio description group dedicated to game accessibility. And this basically ties into not just audio description for games, but gaming events. So, your live, well, I was going to say E3, but like your live gaming events, whether it's like your Microsoft Direct or your Nintendo Direct, your State of Plays, the Jeff Keighley shows, in addition, of course, of course, your audio description in games themselves, which is happening more and more. So, that's another project that I'm working on that's keeping me busy as well. Still in XR Access, still part of the Microsoft Low Vision group, but both of those haven't really been meeting much lately, so I hope they pick back up again. Like everything's kind of been in a lull lately, whether that's VR, whether that's, any number of things. But again, there are some interesting things happening because we have that accessible game event in June, I don't remember the date. But during Global Accessibility Awareness Day, Apple did announce that they are adding all kinds of new accessibility features into their new operating systems, Mac OS, iOS, Vision OS even. So they're doing a lot of upgrades to the Magnifier app, which is great. I was going to do a video, and I still might. Unfortunately, if you have an iPhone 16 series, I'm guessing it's all of them, but I have the 16 Pro Max. I think I did a video a few months back after I got my iPhone 16 Pro Max where the magnifier, the camera was set to auto. And if it did that, it did this weird, they had a focus issue where the image would jump around, it would get blurry from time to time. But when you got near the edge of a page, it would just the image would jump around, making it difficult, if not impossible, to try and read some things. So when I switched it to the close-up camera, that seemed to be a fix. Well, until recently, because as of a few weeks ago, I think what's happening is when you choose the close-up camera, it is now using the wrong lens. Because if I hold my phone near a piece of paper or an object or a back of a box or something like I always have done, and it's worked beautifully, now the closer that you get, it gets blurry to the point where it gets super washed out and you can't even see the text. And when you hold it far, like you have to hold the paper or item very far away from the image, but when you do that, of course, then you're limited as to how big you can get it, how much you can zoom because you're further away from the image. So I did report this to Apple. I literally called their Apple accessibility desk about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And I was on the phone with them for a good while, and they actually remoted into my iPhone. It's kind of cool. You just give them your Apple ID, and they'll send a request. You get a little notification on your phone, and then whatever you do, they can see what it is you're doing and help you troubleshoot. So I showed them exactly the two different things that was happening. I showed them the auto camera option and how that was not working right, and then I showed them how they recently broke their close-up camera problem. And they're like, oh yeah, that is definitely a problem. And I think like they had tried it on one of their devices while I had them on the phone. And so they were able to verify it. But my main frustration with Apple is that there's no, like, yeah, you give them the feedback and they say, okay, we're taking it to our development team. But that's really the last you're going to hear about it. And you don't know if it's being worked on, when it's being worked on. You can't, like, if you put in, let's say, a ticket, you get issued a ticket number, you can't see like a status update or anything like that. You basically just have to hope and pray that one day there'll be an iOS update that will happen to fix this problem. And that's really, I don't even want to say inconvenient or unfortunate. It's really problematic because I and many others use their phone as a magnifier every day. When I meet with clients at work, I show them the built-in magnifier, and many people use that app. And so, this is a core feature that many low vision users use their iPhones for now. And I flat out told them when I was on the Apple accessibility line, I said, hey, if this was a sighted problem and your camera app wouldn't focus, you would know there would be a hot fix out for that like today, tomorrow. But because it's an accessibility thing, we'll take that under advisement. We'll get to it when we get to it. It's not under the same priority, which is sort of horseshit because, again, if this is a tool that I rely on every day and you bake this into your operating system and then you break it, again, would they allow that to stay broken if it were blatantly obvious for a non-disabled user? If this was something that affected everybody, not just low vision users, you bet your ass they would have that fixed in a heartbeat. So I still really have a problem with that. And I'm not just blaming Apple. A lot of companies are like that. If it affects me, or if it affects the non-disabled audience, we'll get to that ASAP. But, you guys are a niche market, we'll get to it when we get to it. You people with disabilities over here. And that really frustrates me, and that really kind of pisses me off. And then I asked him, I said, hey, I know that the magnifier app is, kind of a core baked in part of iOS, but I looked at, and literally it is a feature that you can, if you don't want magnifier, you can literally uninstall that app. You can delete that app and then you can re-download it from the App Store. So I said, okay, I understand that you kind of market this as a built-in tool, but if you can remove this app and reinstall it again later, then clearly if you can uninstall it and reinstall it, then you should also be able to update it separately from an iOS update. So why can't you get this to the development team and have them update the magnifier and not have to wait for iOS 18.6 or iOS 19 or whatever version? If you can uninstall and reinstall it on its own, then you should be able to update it as well separately and get out that hot fix, because I'm sure it's an easy fix. I'm sure that it's just calling the wrong camera. Somehow they switched it and it's calling one of the wrong lenses. And again, as a user, you don't have control. You can't choose. Apple does not let you choose what camera lens you use for magnifier. You kind of do through the audio, the auto selection or the close-up, but when they screw up and make the close-up still use the wrong lens, that doesn't really help. And so I can't just say, no, use this other lens. Let's try this lens out. That is really a problem. So I don't know. I'm frustrated with that as well because, again, I use my magnifier app almost every day, if not several times per day for lots of little things. And so if you and it doesn't seem to happen on my older work phone, like my iPhone 14 Pro Max that I'm using for work, seems to be okay. Now, I don't know anyone else who has like a iPhone 16 or a 16 Plus or a 16 Pro. The only people I know that have a 16, they have the 16 Pro Max like I do. So I'm assuming that it's probably a 16 series problem, or if not, a 16 Pro series problem. So if you are low vision and watching this, check out your magnifier app and make sure you choose the close-up camera option. Let me know. Leave a comment in the, down below, and let me know if you are also experiencing this horrible blurring issue to make where it's literally not readable. And if you do, also report it to Apple yourself. Email Apple Accessibility, call Apple Accessibility. Please let them know, because yes, I reported it to them, but if they hear multiple people complaining about it, I'm hoping that will incentivize them to address this problem. I mean, it's not as bad as, like, you remember a few iOS versions ago where people with Braille displays, they literally broke some Braille displays from working with iOS for a month or two. And then there was another time where I don't remember what iOS version it was, but literally, like, voiceover users were unable to use the phone app to some degree. I forget exactly what the issue was, but again, these things shouldn't happen. These are blatantly, like, core features, whether it's using a Braille display, whether it's using the phone app, whether it's using the magnifier. This is a core thing that should be addressed. And, maybe they don't have enough people and testers actually carefully looking at these things. But, again, if this was a fully sighted problem, they would address this right away. That would be unacceptable. But who knows if and when. I hope we don't have to wait until iOS 19 until they fully revamp Magnifier for that to work again. Because though that's, 3-4 months away yet? And that's a lot of frustration. But what I was getting to was that I had to let you guys know about that. But, there is hope, because they are actually they're actually adding a lot to the Magnifier app. And there's an intriguing thing where I don't exactly fully understand how it works yet, but they're kind of how you have the reader view in Safari, where you get rid of all the columns and all the clutter, and you just want to read an article. Well, apparently, the Magnifier app is going to have like an enhanced reading view where you can literally, I think, like, you can choose your color scheme, and it'll literally, like, it probably OCRs the text and it just brings it up nice and clear. So think about like Zoom text and how you turn it in from like app reader to doc reader kind of a thing. It kind of seems like that. And the more intriguing thing, which I really want to know if and when they're going to do another Vision Pro headset, because in the new Vision OS, they're going to do what I wanted them to do to begin with. They are going to now use the Vision Pro headset cameras and allow a full screen magnifier app. So in addition to just being able to magnify the actual windows, the pop-up windows, the apps and things on the headset, you can use it as a head-mounted CCTV, which is what I wanted to be able to do to begin with. So that is very intriguing, and especially if they made a little bit of a cheaper headset, or if they came out with a new improved Vision Pro, considering you pay $3,000, if not more, for a lot of these head-worn headsets anyway, $2,500 to $3,500 for one of these proprietary headset CCTVs. Well, hell, why wouldn't I just buy a Vision Pro then, and then be able to take advantage of all the other apps and AR and VR type experiences and games and apps and things? So that is intriguing to me. I want to know more about all of that. And I've even heard, I haven't found this yet myself, but a friend of mine told me the other day that Meta is rolling out something for their Quest 3 headsets sometime in the near future-ish. And they theoretically are going to have a little bit of text-to-speech for their dashboard or menu, it sounds like. And again, this could be like a Nintendo thing or a PS4 thing where it's not fully baked yet. It's going to be very limited to start with. But I'm hoping that this is the case, because that would solve so many of my problems even if they made the dashboard accessible via text-to-speech, because I can download and I can buy apps through the phone app and push them over to my device. Yes, I would love the store to be accessible on the headset as well, but if I could adjust my settings, use the recording features, if I could find a game or an app and launch it, or if I could click the little tiny ... button to bring up my menu and uninstall an app when I no longer needed it, if I could do that alone, I would probably get back into VR again, because that would help. Just so much core functionality, that would help me a lot. And he was also saying that apparently Meta is opening up their cameras to third-party developers a bit more. So if Meta doesn't do it themselves, you could potentially, if there's any Meta developers watching out here, if it's not done by Meta directly, they could potentially have a magnifier headset app in the future. Like a third party could do like a full screen magnifier app for a Quest headset. I don't know if or when that would happen, but it could potentially be a possibility. So those are some interesting accessibility things that are hopefully in the near future. No release dates on any of it. Of course, the Apple stuff, is going to be September-ish, so when that's going to come. But the Meta stuff, who knows? They're just talking about stuff, and they usually roll out things gradually, so it's not like, oh, it's out on this date. It's like, yeah, it might be out sometime between now and 6 months from now, and who knows when. But yeah, so that's some accessibility things happening. The last thing that I really want to talk a little bit about is we just had the finale of The Last of Us Season 2, the HBO series, last night. And I have mixed feelings on it. There were parts of the season that I really liked. I thought they did an excellent job with the first season. I thought, the first game was a lot more linear too. It was just following Joel and Ellie, and it told that story pretty well. It expanded on a couple areas, especially the whole Bill episode. But season 2, there were parts of it that were really good. They touched on some key areas, of course. The big moment with Joel at the beginning of the game, of course, they covered that. And I thought they did that pretty well. There were some differences, of course, but They did that okay. And I really liked the kind of simultaneously in that episode, I really liked how they showed the struggle of, I forget the name of the town. But I like them showing how they were kind of being invaded by the infected and they were defending, and how, you got a couple people defending the wall and how they were, chucking barrels down and lighting them on fire. And um, yeah, it was that was a really cool thing. And then they moved on to going to Seattle, and they breezed through a fair bit of things. I actually don't remember, like, when I played The Last of Us Part 2, I have not played it all the way through again since the original weekend when it came out. I've started playing it again, and then I've just gotten distracted partway through and haven't finished it again. But apparently, I don't remember as many beats of that story as I thought I did. Some of it came back to me watching the HBO series, but I thought it was kind of an interesting episode where Ellie went after what's her name and just savagely beat the piss out of her. Um, it was one of Abby's crew. Um, that was done. That was sort of an interesting thing. I liked the birthdays episode last week where they showed, Ellie getting the guitar, and then of course the museum. Like, the museum scene, even in the game, was such an amazing piece. Walking through, interacting with all the exhibits, and then culminating with that space shuttle scene. That was really, really good. I thought they did an excellent job with that. Even, just they skipped over a few beats. They didn't go through a lot of the exhibits. They really concentrated on the astronaut stuff. But, I mean, for what the series is, of course, they're doing it in a few episodes, so they don't have time. But I thought they did that really well. And they left it off basically. They zipped through a lot of Ellie's story. And season 3 is going to be Abby's story. That's basically what they teased. So they basically got to the point where Ellie and Abby confront each other in the theater. And then even in the game, you got to that point, and then they backtracked, and then they showed you more of Abby's day 1, 2, and 3 leading up to that event, her side of the story. So that is what season 3 is going to be. And I think when all things are said and done, once we have the entire series and we know how they do Abby's story in addition to what they did with Ellie, I think I won't mind it as much because everything will tie in together. They really didn't touch too much on the WLF and the what's the word? The Whistler people. I can't remember what they're called. But they touch on that war a little bit, but you're going to get a lot more of that because that's where Abby's story comes into play. You'll learn a lot more about that whole conflict because Abby's story is a big part of that. And so, I mean, it is frustrating because we had, what was it, 9 or 10 episodes for season 1. And season 2 is only 7 episodes. And so now we're going to have to wait, what, a year and a half? If not more for season 3. Like, remember in the 80s when series was like, you had a lot of series that were, 20, 24 episodes, and that was common. Even like some cartoons, like you had some seasons that were 30, 40 some episodes. And now most modern TV shows, you're lucky if you get 10 episodes a season. I've seen some with 6. I think that's a British thing. There's a lot of British TV that gets 6 episodes, 7 episodes now for this Last of Us. I don't know, we're paying more for it, and they give you so fewer episodes, you know, you don't get near as many, and you have to wait a long time between seasons. So yeah, I mean, if you've never played the games, like I'm hearing a lot more, like people who haven't played the games are really liking the story in the HBO series, and you know, they don't know the twists or the things that are happening. So that's new to them, but you know, for the people like us who have played The Last of Us Part 2, some people don't like some of the changes compared to the game, and I don't know. I Overall, like I said, overall, I think it's a decent adaptation. I think, I don't know. I mean, even in Ellie's story, like you could have probably made a 10 episode season 1 and done a little bit more with the town, done a little bit more cuz we really just skimmed through day 2 and 3. Like once we did the Seattle thing, that was really abbreviated. Um there's a lot of things that happen. I mean, literally the last half, I think since like episode 3, were there any infected at all? I mean, there were in the first 2 or 3 episodes a fair bit, but I don't even. No, there was the one because they had the in the dark place. They like the hospital or whatever. They had where the WLF were encountering some. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't there. They could have done a bit more. I think spread it out a little bit and gave more depth to some of the characters and things. But I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see another year or two before we see how they're already talking. It might be a 4 episode or a 4 season run to complete to the end of The Last of Us Part 2. Because remember, once we resolve the theater thing with Abby and Ellie, remember, that's not the end of the game. There's a whole other chunk. After you think that would, you know, you go back to that little place where Dina and Ellie are at the house, and then her still not letting it go and going after Abby, and you know, them beating the absolute piss out of each other at the very end of the game by the water there in the water. So yeah, I don't know. It's I do have mixed thoughts. I don't think it's bad. I definitely don't think season 2 is as good as season 1 was, but I will continue to follow it. So I think that is where we are going to end it, though. I've been babbling about a lot of different things here and there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I will do my best to cover things as timely as I can as we get to WWDC and the Accessible Gaming Showcase and the Jeff Keighley and the IGN events and whatever Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo do. I know Microsoft is, I think theirs is on the 8th or something like that. I forget. Sony's rumored to have one. Microsoft or Nintendo's rumored to have a direct. So who knows? But what with the whole work thing and jury duty and all this other nonsense, who knows how things are going to pan out. So I'll do the best I can. You guys will still see videos on the regular release dates. So check those out as we go. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. You can follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, Blue Sky at Illegally Cited, illegally-cited.com, and right here on YouTube. Until next time, I will chat with everybody again later.